Hi, I'm Mike with the Studio for Teaching and Learning Innovation. Today, we're going to talk about what's new in Zoom. This was recorded in October of 2020, so by the time this gets to you, it may be old already. But here are some new features that we think can be really useful to you. Well, the first feature that you're looking at right here is, it's in beta right now, but what I have here is I've got a PowerPoint that's actually, my background image, and I'm here as in the foreground. And if you notice, what I can do is I can actually just go ahead and I can make myself smaller. I can move myself around. I can be up here. And then it will just give me the opportunity to engage with students in a little bit different way. So this is one of the cool new features, and I'll show you how to do that in a bit. The other thing that you can do is you can just stop your video, and then your video would disappear from the screen. And then you just be able to show the slideshow, and then you can have your video pop in whenever you wanted it to. So that's a really nice new feature. What are some other things we're going to be talking about? Well, notice I'm in front of the picture here, so I'm going to move myself. Okay, so some other new things that we're going to be talking about today. How to use a PowerPoint presentation as a backdrop, which is right here. How to rearrange participant windows in gallery view. How to create self-sorting breakout rooms. How to enhance video and audio of the webcam feed and when sharing your screen. How to use annotation tools. And a few other things. So a couple of things that are really important from my perspective is having backups for Zoom. So the first thing I'll show you is how to have one-touch dial-in to your Zoom session. And the other thing that I'll show you is Google Meetup, or Google Meet rather, as a backup to Zoom. So let's get started.
Wow, quiet crowd, Mike.
You got to give me give him a chance.
I want to learn how to do those cool things you just did.
Yeah, definitely. And we're going to show you all of those cool things. So the first thing that I will tell people before you get started with anything that we're doing right now is you need to update your Zoom. Make sure that you have the latest version of Zoom. And depending on whether you're on a Windows machine or on a Mac, that looks a little bit different. So I know if I'm on my Mac and I've got my Zoom meeting open, I have zoom.us at the top, and I can just click on that by my Apple, and then I can check for updates. And there's just that check for updates button. When I click on it, it tells me whether or not I'm up to date, and it tells me my latest version. The latest version, if people want to know, is 5.3.2 for right now. So everything that we're talking about today is going to be available at least in 5.3.2. If things don't work, and some of the things won't work, especially depending on whether or not students have an earlier version, you'll need to make sure that for some of the cool features that we're going to be talking about, especially the breakout rooms, the students are going to have the latest version. No questions. Okay, does everyone see my screen now? And do they see my window with the video settings in it and I'm moving it around? You don't see that? That's too bad. I have to share my screen for you to see that. Okay, so now that I'm sharing my screen, you should be able to see it. So the way I got there, and I'll show you again, and that's another thing, whenever you're doing Zoom, make sure that you ask people if they can see something, because sometimes you're not always sure. So I'm again going to go down to my stop video area, and I'm going to click on my video settings. So I've hit the arrow and the video setting. And that's going to bring me not just to the video settings, but it's going to bring me to all of my general settings. And here's where a lot of cool stuff is going to happen. So I suggest that you poke around over here. But the things that I want to show you just in general, in the general tab, one of the cool things that you'll be able to do, if you don't have use dual monitors checked, you might want to check that. It allows you to, when you're sharing a screen, it allows you to share a screen on one side of the screen and then see everyone who's participating on the other side of the screen. So I really like that as a feature. Some of the other things that I like as settings, if I click on my video setting, here's where you can do things like touch up my appearance. And if you touch up your appearance, what that'll do is you'll see it softens your face. It'll give you kind of like that Star Trek love interest soft screen on it. And I can make that as soft or as hard as I want, so I can really, right? And the other new feature that they have is adjust for low light. And so now if you're in a situation where you've got low light, you can click on that adjust for low light button, and that'll illuminate your face. And you may want to ask students to do that as well. If they've got, so it's not just for you necessarily. If you need to see students and they're really dark, you might say, hey, go to that video settings and say adjust for low light. It's an easy way to get the students to actually show themselves, right? And I'll uncheck that button. And then we've got a bunch of other sort of cool options over here that I don't really think are very groundbreaking. You can look through them. Here's another thing that some people have been asking me about that you'll probably want to look at in your video area. And that's this maximum participants displayed per screen in gallery view. And you can see I don't have a fast enough processor to do more than 25 participants. Some of you, when you click on that, you may see the 49 participants option, which means you can see 49 people instead of 25 people. So take a look at that. And if you have a fast enough computer, you might be able to use that as well. Okay, so just keep that in mind. So those are the video settings that I think are particularly useful. The audio settings, there's nothing that's really groundbreaking. You can just check your audio levels over there. Share screen is going to be another really important thing for you and your students to sort of get a grip on. The most important thing in the share screen is this side-by-side mode. So when I'm sharing my screen with you, if you click that side-by-side mode, then you'll be able to, you'll have this slider bar between my screen and everybody's video feed.
And remember, side-by-side mode is for people who are not sharing their screen at the moment, so mainly your students. So in order for them to get to side-by-side mode, if they're actually in a session, they'll just pull down from their top menu and choose side-by-side mode as you see here. And then they'll get the slider bar as you see here.
So that's a really handy thing to do. Let's see, there's nothing really great in the chat. The best thing in the chat for me is actually going to be in the accessibility area, and I'll show you that in a second. Background and filters is where all the fun stuff happens, right? So let's take a look at background and filters. The first thing I want to show you is, first of all, I'm going to turn off my background so you can see what that actually looks like. So I'm going to make it no background for me. Come on. So now I have no virtual background. I basically have a green screen behind, right? The more solid and the more different from you your background is, the better it's going to do when you are using a green screen. If you don't have a green screen, and if you have a fast enough processor, you can choose I have a green, you can choose I don't have a green screen, uncheck that button. And then that will try to do as best as it can to make your shape around you. So, and you can give that a try now if you want to. If you haven't tried that, you can go to the backgrounds and filters. You can go to the virtual backgrounds, and you can uncheck I have a green screen and choose one of those backgrounds and see how it works. And some people have great processors. Kim Renner just changed her background. It looks really good. So, and you know, these are some nice backgrounds, but you can also choose whatever backgrounds you want. And if you hit the add image or video, I can add an image or I can add a video. And some of the images that you can add are the William and Mary specific images. So if I wanted to choose a William and Mary specific image, they've got those all on the William and Mary website, but I'm going to share a link with you later on that's going to give you all of the Zoom backgrounds for William and Mary. So if I found one that I liked particularly, here's the Wren Great Hall. So now I can put the Wren Great Hall behind me, right? So, and that's a little wonky, so I don't want the Wren Great Hall behind me. So, but I can choose as many of those as I want, and I can have them available to me as I go. There's a nice bricks logo that I liked. So, you know, something like that. So, but I do have a green screen. And if you do have a green screen, it's better to check I have a green screen, and it makes the video a lot nicer. It handles the video more nicely, the feed. So anyway, that's the first part of the virtual backgrounds. Now, if you notice, if you have the new version of Zoom, you've got this studio effects button right here at the bottom. And if you click on that studio effects, you get this pop out that appears. And the pop out is going to give you some nice, cool things. It's going to let you, some people like the lip color. I can choose different lip colors. So I have red lips now. And for me, I think that's a good look for me. And now you don't have to worry about not having lipstick when you are, talking to somebody. I can also, if I've shaved and I didn't feel like I maybe shaved too closely, I can also give myself a beard. So you can do all that kind of stuff, and then you can hit none for any of those. I can also give myself big eyebrows if I want, as if my eyebrows were not big enough. So I'm just going to choose no lip color, none. So that's studio effects. It's kind of a fun thing. And then there's also video filters here. And the video filters button, there are some that you can play around with. They're fun, but they're not really anything that's, that's going to enhance your teaching very much. I can put a mask on if I want to, so you can't tell who I am. But those are just for fun. The virtual backgrounds, however, can really aid your instruction, especially if you put like a PowerPoint behind you, right? So let's see some other things that you might want to talk about. Recording, this will actually help you if you are, let's say that a lot of people are now recording their Zoom sessions so that they can embed them into videos later on. So like, let's say that I'm not actually teaching a synchronous session, I'm teaching asynchronously, but I'm doing a lecture and I'm recording it in Zoom to my local machine. Well, this will help you decide what settings you can record it as. And I like to check the optimize for third-party video editor when I do that, so that when I've recorded a session, it records it in a way that is easy for Camtasia or iMovie or some of those other video editing programs to then work with, right? And then you can also decide whether you want to record the video during the screen sharing, which I always think is smart to do. Is there a question? Or is Kim just frozen? I guess Kim is just frozen like that. And profile is not that big of a deal. The other thing that I think is going to be really important for people of my age and older is the accessibility area. And so in the accessibility area, I have this option. If I'm looking at closed captions, I can do, I can do my font size, I can make it smaller, I can make it bigger. But here's the great thing for me. The always show meeting controls, I like for people who are newbies to using Zoom and they want to make sure that they have all the meeting controls at their fingertips all the time and they don't know where everything is necessarily, I like to click always show meeting controls. And then that bottom bar will always be available to you at the bottom, right? And the other thing I really like is the chat display size. And I like to set that at 200% for me, because then when I hit chat, look at how gigantic my chat is. I can actually read that, but I can't read it the way that the normal chat is. And Pablo is going to be doing the PowerPoint background in a sec as soon as we get to that point. And I'm going to show you that in the next step, and Pablo will be able to illustrate it. Okay, so that is all of the amazing things that you can access in that one settings area, right? And that's just under stop video, the arrow, and then the video settings. Do you have questions about that? All right, so now we're going to talk about the other cool feature. Let's see, it's 2:20. So I'd love for Pablo now to kind of take over, and I want him to show what it looks like when you share your PowerPoint and you actually embed yourself in it.
Okay, let me just show you what that's going to look like before Pablo shares his screen. So from the presenter's perspective, you'll go to share screen. And then if you notice, you've got all these basic options. But now if I click on the advanced tab here, I can choose slides as virtual background. And I'm going to hit share. And then I just choose that PowerPoint that I want to share, and I'll click open. And I'll let Pablo take it from here.
Sorry, this is a fairly new feature for me. So what
he's going to do is he's going to go to share screen
and click on advanced.
And then he's going to click on the advanced tab. And then he's going to click on slides as a virtual background. And I'll show you how to do this after he does it, but I just wanted to show you what it looks like while he does it, and then I'll show you how to do it.
All right, so I believe that you guys should all be able to see this now. So what I've done is as Mike mentioned, I've opened my slides as a virtual background. And I just found a slideshow that I did a few years ago for the geology department. So hopefully, let me know, everybody can see my slides as and
Pablo can move himself around, and
I
he
can
make
I
himself
can take
bigger
my
and
image,
smaller.
and if let's say I've designed this so there's not a lot of space in the bottom left corner or the right corner, I can move myself to a different corner as I go through my slides. Or if I find out that on one of the slides it interferes like with my text like it does right here, I could sort of drop myself down and then resize myself even. I could either be a small talking head within my PowerPoint or a large talking head. Mike, I couldn't find I didn't have a handy slideshow that was really very showy.
No. This is great, Pablo. I think it really, because I like the fact that you are in front of images and you're in front of charts. I think that that's great because now you can point to things as well.
Right. Yep.
Pablo, how are you moving yourself around the screen with the mouse?
Just drag and drop. It's very easy. So you'll see yourself as an image within your PowerPoint, and then you can take that and just drag and drop wherever you want to go in the screen, and the corners are active, so you can resize. I can either be a tiny Pablo or a overwhelmingly big one.
And you say that he's not moving around for you. You may need to update to the newest version of Zoom. I'm not. I don't want to promise that, but that might be the reason.
So in that chat, in that link that you sent, which I already queued up in another browser, I don't even need to check my Zoom. I'll just go to update to the newest one and just accept. And
yeah, you
click.
can just accept it, but then you get kicked out of this session.
Okay, I'll do it later.
Okay.
All right, Mike, handing it back to you.
Right.
So if I had a more interesting PowerPoint slideshow and I was doing a sort of a virtual field trip kind of PowerPoint rather than charts and graphs, it would really be actually very nice, immersive kind of technology if I was standing in front of the, St. Peter's Square at the Vatican and explaining what's what.
Yeah, Anne, go ahead, ask another question.
Yeah, okay. So you showed me in an earlier one of your tutorials how to share your PowerPoint and still have the grid of students on your screen, so you can be watching your screen while doing the students. I guess the problem for me is that when I then go to a link, so I have links in my PowerPoint, we're going to take a look at this website or whatever, then everything just sort of disappears. They disappear. So I basically just share my screen and I never go to presenter mode in PowerPoint so that I can also have a browser with the websites that we want to look at queued up. So what am I asking? I'm asking if I do this PowerPoint thing and I can see myself, can I also see the students, and or is it just for
me, but let me share my screen and I'll kind of show you what you would do in PowerPoint to make that work. So if I open up my PowerPoint and I go to my slideshow, I would go to set up slideshow.
Right.
And I would go to browsed by an individual as the type, and then I'd click OK. And then when I played it, play from the start, what happens is you'll see it opens up not in my whole window, but in a separate window. And then I can go ahead and I can just play it in a little window, and I can minimize that if I like.
And do you have a green line around that?
No, because I'm sharing my entire screen.
Okay.
If I were sharing a part of my screen, then I would have a green line around it. And now I could make it small, and then I can have everybody, I could have everybody who's on the call on the other side, and you can see all of this. This is not how it would look exactly for you, but this is similar to how it would look. So that's how you would do that. You'd have to choose that PowerPoint, but then you wouldn't get the option to put yourself in the PowerPoint, but that's not a big deal. Yeah. So that's how, does everyone follow that? How you would actually have on the screen a PowerPoint that is minimized that you actually can still interact with, and have it just like this when you're in presenter mode. I can go through that again. So let me do that again. Pardon? Yeah, that's a cool new feature. So let me kind of show you how that works.
So first things first, before we start our screen share, we're going to go down to our stop video area. Remember, we're going to click on that button and we're going to go to video settings, and just make sure that under the general settings you've got the use dual monitors selected, because you need use dual monitors selected for this to work.
Okay, so again, I'm in PowerPoint. Let me close this other one so it's not very confusing. Let me minimize this. Okay, so now, here's my screen, right? I want to show this to my students. What do? I'll go to my slideshow link in PowerPoint, and then I'll go to set up slideshow. And you have to do this each time because it'll default back to the presented by a speaker. That's the way that the default is when you go to set up show. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose browsed by an individual window, and I'll say okay. And now the trick is when I hit play from start, see what happens. It only opens in this little window for me. So now that it's open in that little window, what I'll do is I'll click on share screen, and look, I'll find that Microsoft PowerPoint. I'll still see everything else, but my students will see that PowerPoint big, and I'll hit share here. And now I see that green screen, that green line around my screen, around that window, but now you see it full size. Okay. So that's a great feature. If you're doing, so that's if you're doing PowerPoint. You can do a very similar thing if you're doing Google Slides. So if you're doing Google Slides, how you would do that is very similar. And let me go ahead and share my screen with you again. I'll share my full screen and you'll be able to see that. So I'll go ahead and open up my Google Slides. And now you see I'm sharing this, but it's full screen for me and it's full screen for you. But now what I can do is if I go down to the bottom here, if you notice, I've got, if I hover over it, I get this toolbar that appears at the bottom left. The third button from the right after exit and settings is this exit full screen. And if I click on that, that's exactly what it'll do. It'll exit full screen, and now very similar to the way that it was with PowerPoint, right? This is still an active window, and I can continue to interact with it, and I can play the slideshow for you. Now, if I want to share that with you and have that be on my full screen, have that be on your full screen, I can do that the same way. So I'll go to share screen. Here's my Google Chrome window. I'll select that, and I'll hit share. And now you see that as the full window, and I see it with a green box around it. The great thing about this also is now I have access to other windows in my Chrome setting that you then can have access to. So if I wanted to go to a YouTube video on that same tab, you're still seeing it. And I haven't left my PowerPoint. I haven't left my Google slide, right? And now you'll see the youtube.com link. And now I can jump back and forth to anything that I want, right? And you can see only the things that I'm sharing in this window. So really great feature. I'll stop my share and I'll share it with a full screen so you can see what I was seeing. So here's what I was seeing when you were seeing just my screen. Notice how I have this window here in Chrome, and I have all these tabs open, and all I need to do is I open up another tab, and now that's the active tab for my students. So I can jump from one tab to the other very easily. It keeps everything very condensed. Questions about that?
Yes.
Yeah.
So when you share your screen, you can either share your whole screen or you can share and choose, I'm going to share just this document or just this PowerPoint.
It's even better than that, yeah.
So if I share, I go to share screen, I share just my PowerPoint, I go to PowerPoint and go to use by individual viewer, and you're telling me that in use by individual viewer, if I then go to a website, I don't have to unshare and get out. It's going to keep me.
Not when you're going from PowerPoint. If it's PowerPoint, it's PowerPoint.
Right.
If it's Google Slides, then yes. Then you
Okay.
get all of those features. PowerPoint will only do the PowerPoint thing.
Mm-hmm. And if you go out to a website, then you're like out in another land and you have to go to that land.
But if you do Google Slides, then you can do any website that you want inside that browser window and Google Slides. You may be able to do it in PowerPoint online. I haven't even checked that, but I could definitely check that.
Interesting.
Yeah, the other great thing that you can do now with your sharing, and I'll show that to you now. Let me go ahead and share my whole desktop again. Okay, so another way to share screen. Now you notice I click on, you can see where I click on advanced, right? Great. So that was that slides as virtual background that Pablo did, right, under the Advanced tab. You can also share a portion of the screen. All right, so if I choose portion and I click on that, now you'll see, I don't know what you see at the moment, but I see a green square that I can then stretch out and share different parts of my screen. And now I know exactly what I'm sharing. And I'll take a screenshot and then I'll share my whole screen so you can see exactly what that was that I was doing. So when I shared that portion of the screen, you notice what I saw there. This is what I saw. There's a box, a green box that now I have control over, that I can reshape by hovering over the lines and stretching them, either making them fatter or thinner or whatever. So now I always know that's the live spot, and I don't have to worry about, if that's the way I like to work, then that's great. I don't have to worry about anything else. Whatever I move into that spot is now viewable to the students. So that's another really cool feature. Another way to share, which is really nice. So now, anyway, let me share my full screen again. Another way to share that's really nice is music or computer sound only. So there are lots of faculty members who don't necessarily want to show anything on the screen. They just want students to hear the music. So if you choose music or computer sound only, look what happens. You see down at the bottom of my share, I have share computer sound and optimize screen share for video clip. Make sure if you're playing a video clip or if you're sharing computer sound that those buttons are checked appropriately. But now if you notice, they're grayed out when I choose music or computer sound only, because it's smart enough to say, okay, I know what my settings are, you don't have to tell me. But now if I choose slides as a virtual background, for example, you'll notice I have the option to share computer sound, because it's possible that I want to play a sound while I'm doing that. Now, if I go to my basic tab, I have the same options. So I can either share computer sound or optimize screen share for video clip, depending on what it is that I'm sharing. So make sure you do those two things before you hit share. And that's going to be a huge help to you and to your students. So if I go to advanced and I want to share music or computer sound, I'll hit share. And now it's sharing the computer sound. And if I were going to go to YouTube, and let's say we're going to find the, what am I looking for here? Something with music. Jump a bit. Okay, so that's the audio only share. How did it sound, by the way? Good? Yeah. So you're probably going to have really good experiences if you're doing the audio only share. All right, so that's all the different ways that, all the cool new ways that you can share. There's the old ways that you can share, like share content from a second camera or from an iPhone. And the iPhone share is actually kind of nice, and I can show you how to do that. Let me go ahead and share my whole screen again so you can see where I am. So if I were going to share my iPhone feed, I'll stretch that out, and I'll go up to share screen, and it's under basic. And if I didn't have a cable, if I had AirPlay, I could just click on iPhone, iPad via AirPlay, and I could hit share. And now here, if you can see that, you'll notice now I can go to my phone and I can swipe up on my iPhone and I can hit screen mirroring and I can choose my Zoom MacBook Pro. And now you can see my iPhone is right here. And if I wanted to show you an image on my iPhone, now I can go through my images. Some meringues that I made. There's my dog and my cat.
Do you need a Mac? You need a Mac laptop for that?
I believe you do need a Mac laptop for that, or you need a cable. If you don't have a Mac laptop, you'll need to connect by a cable, and then you can just have the whatever cable goes into your phone will go into your computer, and then you'll be able to share from the iPad or the iPhone to your computer. Yeah, but if to do that AirPlay thing, you need a Mac laptop or a desktop. It doesn't matter. Yeah, so those are some of the cool ways that you can share. So one of the other things that you can do is move the images around. So we're all now. If you want to, you can go to. Let me share my screen again. So here I am, and I am in gallery view. If you're not in gallery view, I suggest that you go into gallery view when we're done with this. But I click on view up at the top, and then I can go from speaker view to gallery view. And I'll go to gallery view. And then what I can do is I can move people around. And you can actually probably see me moving these people around. And now if I'm the host, I can move people around. You can move people around as not the host, so you can try it out. But you can also decide that you are going to follow the host's order. So that's a kind of a cool thing. I'm going to stop sharing. And now, if you notice, if you click up on that view area, you have speaker view, gallery view, follow host's video order. And if you click on that, then it'll set it to the video order that I have it as. And then you can also release the video order if you want. And that's kind of cool. So if I want to move Anne to the front because she was talking, I can move Anne to the front there. If I want to put Tali in timeout, I can put him in the bottom there. Right? Everyone can see that when I'm moving people around? One of the nice things that you can do is you can pin other people. So if you're not the host, if you hover over somebody's image and you have the 3 dots next to their image and you click on it, one of the things you can do is pin that person. So if you wanted to see what Anne has on the back of her wall there, and I wanted to read that Arabic writing there, I clicked on that. Now I can kind of get a closer look at that. Or if I wanted to see what kind of starburst Michael Blakey has, I'd say, okay, that's kind of a cool thing he's got behind it. But then I can also pin people. So if I wanted to pin I can also spotlight people as the host. So if I wanted to spotlight somebody, if I wanted to spotlight Kimberly, I could just spotlight her for everyone. And now Kimberly is spotlighted for everyone. And unfortunately for Kimberly, she can't do anything about it until I remove the spotlight. Or people can actually change their own settings so that they don't see the spotlight. But at the very beginning, until you change your settings, whoever the faculty member, whoever the host has spotlighted will remain spotlighted. So that's another kind of cool feature. All right, so now the best feature is going to be breakout rooms. So are we ready for this? Hopefully, this is going to work properly. If you have the latest version, I'm going to share my screen with you and I'll show you exactly what I'm doing here. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to open up these breakout rooms that I've created. And I created, oh, I haven't created any breakout rooms here. That's right. So you see, create 2 breakout rooms, right? I can create however many I want. I'm going to choose, let's see, there are 21 of us. I'm going to say, let's go with 6 breakout rooms, 3 to 4 participants per room. And now I have 3 options. I can assign those rooms automatically. I can assign them manually, or I can let the participants choose. I'm going to choose to let the participants choose the rooms. And I'm going to hit create. And now you see I get all of this stuff that appears. Now, if I came in a little bit early to class, I could actually rename these rooms. So if I wanted this to be the room where people talk about Dostoevsky, I can select that. If I wanted to rename this room, and this is where people talk about Tolstoy, I would do that. Let's say this is the room I want people to talk about Gogol. I'd say, yeah. See a trend here. This is the Pushkin room, of course. And this is the Bulgakov room. And let's pick somebody else who's kind of contemporary. Solzhenitsyn, but I can't spell his name. Close enough. So now I have all those rooms named. And now I can either assign people to those rooms by clicking here, and I can assign people who I really want to be in those rooms, or I can just open up all the rooms. Before I open up the rooms, you'll notice I have this options button here. And if I click on that gear, that options button, here's where I can allow participants to choose their own room. Here's where I can allow them to return to the main session at any time. And here's where I can automatically move all the assigned participants into breakout rooms. But I'm not going to assign anyone now. I'm going to let people choose their own. And I'm going to hit open all rooms. Now, hopefully people now see the breakout rooms button down at the bottom. And if you click on that, it'll show you all the different rooms and where you can go. So if you scroll down here, what you'll do is you can click join on that 0, and then you can jump to a room. So I'll give people a few minutes just to jump into rooms. I mean, you're free just to hang out here and watch the fun, or you can go to another room and see if you can jump to. So now, if you notice, if you're looking at my screen now, I can close all my rooms, and if I hit close all rooms, it tells me that all breakout rooms will close in 28 seconds. So then everyone will come back eventually. And everyone has gotten a warning saying that rooms will close. And then people pop back in. And I'll stop my share. So lots of cool other stuff that we can talk about. If people need to leave, I totally understand. The other thing in Zoom that I really want to talk about is annotations, because that's a tool that doesn't get used enough, and it's a really cool feature. All right, okay, great. So annotation, I'm going to share my screen with you. And the great thing about annotation is you don't have to just share a whiteboard. You can share anything. So if I share my Google Chrome screen here, and now I go back to my new Zoom features, I can go ahead and I can share, I can annotate. And that's going to be a tool that you're going to see up at the top. Can you see the little annotate button that's right here at the top of my screen? Oh, you can't because I'm not sharing the whole screen. Let me share my whole screen and then I'll show you where that is. So now, if you notice, I'm sharing my whole screen. Do you see the annotate up at the top? So if I click on annotate, I get this whole array of things I can choose from. So let me go ahead and go back to my, and what I can do is I can, and you can do it too. You can go ahead and choose, and you can then start drawing on mine. And I can do things. What I use a lot is, yeah, somebody's already starting to draw. What I use a lot is the stamp tool, and I use the arrow. And I'll say, okay, now go right here, or, go right here, or go right there. And then, it's very easy to find people, to tell people where they need to go. I can identify, different things. So it's really incredibly useful. You can do arrows, right? Oh, that's very sweet, whoever wrote that, thank you. And then I can decide as the host whether I'm going to clear everything. I can clear viewers' drawings, or I can clear my drawings, or I can clear all drawings. So let me say, okay, now I'm going to get rid of everybody's. I just want them to see mine. And now I just see mine, which is really nice, right? And then I say, okay, now I'm going to clear everything, and we're going to do it again. And now we can work on it again. So that's a really nice way for us to be collaborative in this space. That is all I wanted to talk about, except let's talk very quickly about what to do when Zoom goes down for you. When Zoom goes down for you, what you can do is what I have done on my phone, and actually let me share my phone with you and I'll be able to show you what that looks like. So now on my phone, in my contacts, I can search Zoom, and you see here's Mike Zoom, and now I have that. And what I've done is, if you notice, that number that I put in there, that 1-646-558-8656, that's the general Zoom number. And then you notice how I have comma, comma, and then that other number, that's my Zoom number right there.
So let's step back a second and I'll show you how to program that Zoom number for your meeting into your phone. Now, the easiest way to find the one-touch dial-in phone number for your meeting is to go to cwm.zoom.us and log in and find your meeting. So I'm here under meetings, and let's say I wanted to find the call-in number for class conversation room A. So I'll go ahead and click on that. And it brings me to this meeting. And what I can do is I can click copy invitation. And if you'll notice, if I scroll down, I have this one tap mobile. And here's my one tap mobile. And then I can go ahead and put that number in the phone, and I'll show you how to do that right now. So I've got my phone up here. It's an iPhone, and I'll click on my phone app. And here are my contacts, and I'll just hit the plus to add a new contact. And I can say Zoom, whatever I want to call it. And now I'll add the phone number. I'll click add phone. And now here's how I'll add that phone number. Now, if you notice here, the number is kind of weird. It's got some commas and things like that. So the number is 646 558 8656. And now I have to figure out what that comma is. And if you notice, I've got my buttons down at the bottom left, the plus, the star, and the pound sign. If I click on that, you'll notice there's a pause option, and I'll click pause, and that puts the comma in there. And it's actually 2 commas. So I'll need to hit that button again and hit pause again. And you notice the 2 commas come up. And now I need to put in the name of that session. And I'll put in 757 879 5463. And now I'll put in the pound sign. And again, I have to click that button there, and I'll put in the pound sign. So now there's the number, and I'll click done. And now I've got that Zoom home that I can phone in. And now all I need to do is call in, and I'll have a connection into that session. Let's see if it works. We'll probably get some feedback.
Welcome to Zoom. Enter your meeting ID followed by pound.
It's doing that automatically.
Enter your participant ID followed by pound. Otherwise, just press pound to continue. You are in the meeting now. There is one other participant in the meeting. This meeting is being recorded.
And so now that's how you go about doing it. I was getting some feedback, so I turned it off. At I've got an audio connection automatically into my meeting. And so that will ensure at least an audio backup for your class if you need to. And also a way for you to jump in with audio if your audio feed in Zoom is bad, but your video feed is okay. And the other thing that I think is a really cool option, if you're thinking about what happens when Zoom goes down, and I'm just going to go to my Google Chrome here. And if I am in, I'm going to exit my PowerPoint, my Google slide rather. So if I am in my Google Suite, I can log in to meet.google.com. And then I can join or start a meeting right here. So if I click on start a meeting, it's very similar to Zoom. It's not going to give you the breakout rooms, but it's very easy to send this to people at William & Mary. So I can enter the meeting name, Mike's class. Oh, I can't use apostrophes, Mike class. And then I'll hit continue. It'll join the meeting. It'll probably break everything. So I probably don't want to do that. I'm going to close it. I'm a little afraid. Okay. So anyway, and then you can just send that link the same way that you send a Zoom link to your students, and then you'll join the Google Meet. And it'll be very easy for you to do that. Okay. Questions?
That phone number that you have,
How do you find it?
if Zoom fails, yeah, how do you identify
Great
that?
question. Let me show you.
Now the first way, as I explained a little earlier, is to go to the web interface, cwm.zoom.us, and go to your meetings and follow the directions there. But if you're already in a meeting,
What I do is I go to participants, I go to invite, I go to copy invitation. And then what I do is,
I'm just going to paste it somewhere. I'll paste it into a Google Doc here.
and see what I've got here. This is the whole invitation, but I have this one tap mobile. So all I would do is I would enter this number in for the one tap mobile. I would enter 1-301-715-8592, comma, and then the name of the room, 941-251-21395, #. And once that's programmed into my phone, then I can go ahead and do everything else. You'll notice that the meeting ID over here is this number right here. So that's how you do it. And as I said, I'll do a little video too, tutorial to show how to do that. Other questions? And you notice how my screen now is, since I redid everything, here's my green screen. It just kind of falls to the side. If I stop my video and then start it again, it'll readjust itself. Now it's fixed. Well, this has been a really fun session for me. I hope that people have gotten a little bit out of it. And I encourage you to try things out. Don't worry, you won't break anything.